My name is Geordy Murphy, and I'm the director of iMental Health Counseling, and I am also a registered provisional psychologist, and I work with individuals, couples, and teens. Let's talk about the definition of boundaries. So when you think of boundaries, what do you think about? What comes to mind? I was thinking about different analogies and different things that might show boundaries. So, what is the definition of boundaries? When we look at different books and different things that people have said about boundaries, one of them that really stood out to me was one from Cloud and Townsend, where they talk about the skin as being a boundary. Now, when we think of the skin, we can think of it as holding all the parts together. And so, when I work with a lot of people, sometimes they have difficulty setting a boundary because they think, well, maybe it's putting limits on things, taking away my freedom or taking away other people's freedom. But the skin, if we think of it as the skin, it's actually what holds everything together, and it actually creates more control for us. It holds our organs and all the things that need to function properly within that. The other definition I really like, as you can see in the slide here, it's actually like a property line. So if we think of it as this is my property, these are the things that are allowed on my property, and these are the things that aren't allowed on my property. So in all these different aspects of our lives, there's things that we should be saying yes to and things that we would like to say no to. So boundaries are putting parameters around those things that we probably want to say yes to and we probably want to say no to. But often there's things that get in the way. What we can see is that there's actually a line there. And it's not a brick wall. So for some people, they might think that setting a boundary is that we're actually putting a barrier between us and the other person and we can't even see them. That is, maybe we even close them out, shut them off. And I don't think that's actually a healthy boundary. But there's definitely reasons why we might want to do that. Because maybe we don't even feel safe with somebody, so maybe we want to close them out. There's the other possibility that there's no lines between you and the other person and they can just walk all over your property. And there's also a pretty good reason why you might feel like you got to do that too. Maybe you feel like you can't set up boundaries, you can't set up parameters between you and other people because maybe you're worried that you're going to hurt somebody. So this picture shows healthy boundaries in that we actually are able to clearly express, this is my property over here. These are the things that I expect or I need in this relationship. And that person can clearly see those things. We all set boundaries. And even if they're not clearly laid out, we're actually, in a way, we're setting a boundary. We're basically communicating that that person might be able to walk all over our boundary. They might be able to, they don't necessarily see the structure that we've set, right? So it's kind of like, you set up a property and you don't distinguish where the property line really is. And that's actually, like, a lack of boundary is actually kind of a boundary in a way. And so if we're not clear in setting those boundaries, people are just guessing. So it can become really awkward. One of the things that's really been coming up with boundaries is this idea of sharing our thoughts and ideas on social media. I wanted to touch on this before we get into too many other things because I feel like it's really important right now. We have we have social media that's actually impacting how we set boundaries. They're actually setting the limits on different things that you might talk about, different opinions that you might have. And so I'd like to share that because if it's actually shaping a lot of how we interact with each other. And so for this presentation, I want to emphasize that social media, there's actually lots of boundaries that maybe we can think about in regards to social media and how that's actually influencing our boundaries and how we think about them. Brene Brown says that having the courage to love ourselves enough that we're able to risk disappointing others. I feel like this is very relevant to boundary setting. That when I say no to somebody, I'm risking the possibility that they are going to be disappointed in me. So I believe that sometimes when we're setting boundaries, one of the risks that we're taking is that we might disappoint others. We might feel awkward. But that's one of the things that we're going to talk about that we have to lean into and embrace some of that discomfort as we're setting boundaries. So what's going to be healthy about learning to set healthy boundaries? What's going to be beneficial about it? I think one of the benefits is that we're going to feel healthy as individuals. We're going to feel confident. We're going to be able to live according to our values, according to our core values and what's important to us. So when we're not living according to our values and setting those boundaries that are really important to us, then we're moving away from that person that we really want to be. So if I'm somebody who completely gives, so if I'm giving to people constantly and I'm not filling myself, if I'm not learning to say no to people, then eventually my body's going to say no. Eventually, it's going to impact even my health, my physical health. So not only are we setting boundaries for our mental health and well-being, it's actually impacting us on a physiological level. So are you ready to see how you can begin saying yes to the things that you want to say yes to and no to those things that you want to say no to? I hope you join us in this series for setting healthy boundaries.